Hello there, Ray here, and today I will be explaining how you can load the Nether dimension without a player, and how you can use this to load your bases using the Nether. This only works in versions of 1.9 and later. If you try this in 1.8, it will only load for a brief moment. The way you can load the Nether without a player is similar to how I did it with the end dimension, but with Nether portals, being two-way, it is more useful. You want to start out in your spawn chunks, then you will want to place down a Nether portal, which will be used to send items into the Nether. On one side of the portal we have our entranceway, and on the back side here we have a dropper system that will recycle items that are used to load the Nether. The system here is hooked up to a clock which will activate about every 14 seconds, which is about 18 items in the hopper clock. This is because Nether will unload every 15 seconds after an entity has passes through it. Keep this in mind that it will also unload every 45 seconds when an autosave occurs, no matter if the 15-second timer is up or not. Now if we go into Nether, we can see that I have marked out an area here that is being loaded with hopper chunk loaders. You can see that I have a 5x5 area of chunk loaders, which makes this center chunk here an entity processing chunk. This allows entities such as items that are being thrown in, as well as minecarts to be processed in this chunk. The red chunks here represent the lazy processing chunks, and the white chunks represent the entity processing chunks. I have these clock testers here that will say in chat if the chunk is in a lazy processing chunk or if it's in an entity processing chunk. This portal here is properly linked up with the overworld portal by taking the overworld x and y coordinates and dividing them by 8 while keeping the y coordinate the same. This is always important when working with nether portals. Behind this portal is a system that collects the items that are thrown in and sends them back through the portal. The direction of an item which is sent through the portal is important because any item that has momentum while going through the portal will keep the same direction and momentum coming out. The item in the overworld was thrown through in the north direction, and therefore the items will be shot out going in this direction, and we have the hoppers here on the north side. And this is just the opposite for the overworld portal. With this chunk loading setup shown here, only the center one is an entity processing chunk. But I have added some more chunk loaders above here that go out a ways to my base. These chunk loaders are loading a 5x5 area and are all linked together so that they are loading this white strip of chunks here as entity processing chunks. Using a lot of hopper chunk loaders will cause stress to your server, so don't go overboard with it. To minimize some stress, there are containers above all the hoppers. Furnaces or droppers both work and are fairly cheap to craft. Now we have arrived at the area that has the nether portal that goes to the base. Here we have the portal that is also properly aligned and linked up with the base's overworld portal. You can see that we have a similar system that recycles items through the portal. I had some problems with items getting unloaded and getting stuck in the bottom of this portal here, so I added in some hopper carts to pick them up. You can also see that instead of having a hopper clock, which will duplicate items when the hoppers in this chunk are unloaded and reloaded, this will also cause the timing to be off. So instead I have used a comparator clock here that goes off about every 13 seconds. Here we have some more command block testers that are just checking the area for the entity processing chunks and the lazy processing chunks. These ones here are just labeled with the N. Now if we go through this portal, we should arrive at our base, which is at 3200x 3200y. Here we have the same 5x5 area of chunks that are loaded, and the portal here is in the entity processing chunk. I have extended this by one chunk, making this chunk over here also entity processing. So there is a path of entity processing chunks from this base all the way through the portal and all the way to spawn via the nether. I have some more command block testers that are here at the base, and these are just labeled with OW, which stands for overworld. This portal here has the same setup as the other one does, where I'll just pick up the item and recycle it back through. And over here we have a simple redstone device that allows incoming chest carts to come here and pick up items from this chest, and then after they picked up some items they'll be sent back to spawn. here we just have a command block that will notify us in chat that the chest cart is actually here picking up items. Now let's go to spawn, which I have a command block here that will take me directly to spawn. And let's see if we can have our chest minecart here go all the way to our base and pick up some more items for us. Let's say someone buys the last item out of your store. Then the chest cart will automatically travel to your base and bring back more of that item. You can see that the chest cart has currently made it to our base and is filling up with more items. Once it has enough items, it will activate the redstone, which will allow it to be sent back here to the spawn chunks. As you can see, the chest cart went through the nether into our base and picked up more items and has traveled all the way back to its spawn by itself. Keep in mind that most entities have a cooldown, so they cannot be sent back through the nether portal. So most entities will have to wait 30 seconds after coming out of a nether portal before they can go back into another portal. Otherwise, they will just get stuck in the nether portal and will not teleport away. This is something to keep in mind, because when your chest minecart comes out of this nether portal, and if it comes here and it fills up too quickly on items and is sent back before its 30-second cooldown timer is up, it will just get stuck in this nether portal here. Because none of the system is dependent on players being online, for servers, you can actually have this running 24/7 and it'll work just fine. This also means that it will be running 24/7, and you should probably invest into a off switch by powering the hoppers, which will disable the chunk loading. If your server does have an iron farm that is in spawn chunks and it happens to produce a lot of poppies, it is possible for you to use the poppies instead of using this item recycling system. There is a world download in the video description. I highly recommend that you check that out if you're having any troubles with this. I have recently made a Twitter account. The link is in the description. So if you want to see what I am up to, you can follow me there. There you have it, guys, how to load the nether and your base without a player. So if you found this interesting, show me with a like. If you would want to see more useful 1.9 mechanics, subscribe. And if you have any questions, be sure to comment. Bye bye.